The first thing that I want to say is that please, everybody, accept my condolences. Who we lost was very important figure in the whole field, and he has done lots of creative work, and basically majority of them are also unpublished, because I know Carl since 2008, and then we getting closer and start publishing the work together. And he was so taking himself in such a high standards that he was not letting himself to just publish something that he don't understand completely. And it's very hard for me to talk because the loss is so sudden, and I think no one was prepared for that, because he was, to my eye, he was in the heights of being so mature in the way that he solved problems. He was just 60, and it's a big loss. So just for the last minute, I would also tell about the last week that I was working with, just to give a context and feeling and emotions for that week. We were working on some ideas, of course, related to the balance network and fluctuations, and how to kind of make a networks that similar follows the biology as we know best of our data. Every single data point that came to our mind, Carl was so curious about it. And a few weeks ago, we were in a talk, and we were talking about it, and we start thinking about that, how we're going to treat that problem. And we were talking every day in that week, sometimes for hours, sometimes 2 times, 3 times. And I think was all these days, he was a little bit heavy and not so strong, but it was usual. It happens. Everybody go a little bit not strong. So I was calling him on Wednesday at 1 p.m. 1:09, and I was reporting some result that I got from simulations and calculations and scaling, and I don't know, tune input to the network, and how the depression effect things, and whatever. And he was very curious, and he just want to know the way that the algorithm that I used for this and that. And he gave some suggestions, and I was making some ring network, and I was using from Mises ring, and he was such oh, I like the cosine better, because he was so knowledgeable about functions and analysis, and yeah, he had a very deep knowledge about special functions. You know, I remember once he was just trying to solve a problem, and solving some integral, and he told me that, oh, Frazada, you need to go to Gorenstein, look at this hypergeometric function, and you go there, and up there is something it's called Bessel function of first kind, and that's the solution to your integral. And this loss cannot be kind of repaired. It's from the knowledge and from the personality. He was so modest and humble, and he was so available in many senses. It was not a usual availability, but it was a very available to really solve difficult problems. He was a person that very into holding complexities and not making a dichotomy, this and that. He just tried to hold the complexity of everything that we have. And he was so modest and ingenious about things. And then after this short conversation that I had at 1 p.m., so I had to check something in my simulations, and around 4 I called him, and there was no answer. And And I think at that time, Carl passed. And so everybody, again, please accept my condolences for this big loss, a great treasure of our field, and a person that actually, at the beginning when I met Carl, I thought that he is a rebel, but he's not a rebel. He's somebody that actually understand everything so deep, but he creating his own world to live in. And on this note, I just stop this conversation. Thank you everybody for showing up today.
So we have a little clip that actually Fazada made. I don't know exactly when it was. It was probably before COVID or right after the COVID finished, or was possible to travel again. And I called it Carl in Action. So you see here Carl in an experimental room in our department. But what I wanted to share with you is this.
On recording. So this is a equation that we found, which is R sub F1 minus is equal to minus alpha M over I sub R squared times zeta of 1/2.
It's minus zeta of 1/2.
Oh, mistake. Times minus zeta of 1/2. A square root of divided by square root of 2, and then we have open bracket j sub r plus 1 plus e minus pi divided pi times e to the z1 squared. So Carl, what do you think about this?
It's complicated.
Yeah. What do you think about this?
It's life is good.
Life is good. After all this painful suffering.
But it's over.
Right.
Because L is 0 also has a mu, which is 1. Mu 0 is 1.
I agree, yes.
Right? So that's just some L is 1 to, well, infinity. I guess when we actually would calculate this, then we would, what did it say? Psi 0, P1, psi L, psi L, P1.
Psi LP1, huh?
Psi 0.
Psi 0, yeah.
Well, these are just, these should be basically the same, right? Because the one is just flipping. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So, yes, so everybody who had this experience to work with Carl, especially in the last period, the last 5 years, realized that he was doing all the calculation in his head, and he was able to remember the detail of the calculations and to correct you within 2 weeks after he did the calculation. Once he told me, yes, for 2 weeks it's okay, I can remember. After that, it's a bit more complicated. And another day he told me, you know, if you cannot do the calculation in your head, it means that you did not understand it. So Carl Venes is, let's say also a few words. Carl is co-directing our team, where Carl was actually the hub of the team. We are devastated in any meaning of the word, personally, and also the team is devastated. Carl.
David, thank you for giving me this opportunity. At the same time, it's a challenge to talk about Carl in 3 minutes. May I share one or two slides, maybe, if you agree? well, it's not a big problem. I won't share anything. Just I hope you understand my accent. So we'll start by saying one very sentence that Carl was very often telling me when I was trying to discuss with him about theoretical neuroscience, about things that are fashionable nowadays in neuroscience and so on. So basically this is to say that I am a biologist, right? So I know nothing or very few things about theoretical neuroscience, and with Carl I could talk for hours about everything, and I could ask stupid questions. So when I said to him, Carl, can we discuss about artificial intelligence, deep learning, things like that? And he was always answering, well, you know, I don't know what artificial intelligence is, but what I know for sure, I know about natural stupidity. And what I can say to you is that natural stupidity is much more advanced than artificial intelligence. So it was the first thing I wanted to say, that Carl had a great humor, and this with his impressive intelligence made a unique, and not only that, made a unique person. So I wrote few lines because I want to be, I want to not to take too much time. I'm sorry, I feel a bit of emotion because I lost more than a colleague, I lost a real friend. So when David suggests that I would talk today, my first thought was, what could I say about Carl that would not be simply basically stupid? What can I say that could reflect how clever and genius he was? How sharp, subtle, detailed, and amazingly complete his thinking was. And then I said, okay, stop, Carol. You're trying to do something which is out of your reach, and in fact, which is out of the subject. Something that, something from my part that our group was not expecting me to do when I joined the lab in 2010. So let me try to remain true to myself. And since this is the way I got to know Carl, and likely the way he came to appreciate and to trust me. Our group or in lab in France is made of theoreticians and experimentalists. This is very important for David, and it was very important also for Carl and for the rest of the group. It happens that sometimes theoreticians became in our group experimentalists, but very rarely the opposite. I made no exception. I started and I am still an experimentalist with a pure background of natural science, genetics, biochemistry, physiology, and in fact, to simplify, what most of you call biologists. Regarding the field of theoretical neuroscience in general, and our group in particular, you could say that I am a typical atypical object. In other words, an outlier. So I knew that they would not need my contribution for their research, especially, of course, Carl and David. And hopefully I discovered that with time working with them, that it was not the question. They were not waiting for me to do that. From the very beginning, David and Carl started to give me incredible opportunities. For example, from the very beginning, I had the opportunity to talk about my experimental work about retrograde messenger signaling between neurons at the Mathematical Poincaré Institute in Paris. So with a very, with an audience of theoretician and mathematician. And in 2012 and 2030, Carl gave me this incredible chance to contribute to lectures on my research topics at the Advanced Computational Neuroscience course, to which he was contributing these 2 years at Bedlewo in Poland. And I said, okay, just because, in fact, to be honest, it was too hard for me to say no to these so impressive people. And like this, it happens that in Bedlewo, while I was refining my lecture, discussing with Carl, it happened the first time when I dared to admit and to tell him that I could not teach anything computational or theoretical, but I would only be able to talk about the basic biology, physiology that I was doing and not even system neuroscience. And then Carl answered, yes, you are there for that, and I hope you will do so. This is exactly why I invited you. I want you to talk about physiology, to present data, to say how you collected them and what they are. I'm waiting for you to be a biologist there. I insist on this point because for people who know the domain and the community and the work, it's not that obvious and not that easy that biologists are invited to talk about biology in a computational neuroscience course. Then we started to have a working and relationship and a friendship that never stopped getting enriched, and that was totally enjoyable, I think, for him also. Defining Carl with words will necessarily be incomplete or approximate. And you know, in mathematics, what is approximately true is wrong, so I will not do it. The first lesson I took from Carl was that biology uses words to describe and interpret the systems. So by nature, it is incomplete and it cannot be universal. It's a matter of semantics, of culture, of individual concepts and consideration. If you consider the words plasticity, memory, information, computation, they have different meanings for scientists, philosopher, artists, or even for scientists among neuroscientists themselves. So a single word can mean very different things, but when it comes to mathematical formalization, a single equation has one meaning and nothing else. Carl was incredibly talented to translate biological systems into mathematical problems. And this requires not only talent, but also strong exigence. And Carl was extremely exigent. He would never compromise with reasoning. He would also never compromise with fashionable trends or with political consideration. He was very early in his life put himself outside our common real world, outside of classical ambition, honors, career consideration. Those words had no meaning for him. And he probably inspired the famous sentence of Saint-Exupéry in his book, the Little Prince, when the fox says, "One sees clearly only with the heart. What is essential is invisible to the eyes," which I would parody, and I'm almost done, by this sentence. In scientific research, one finds only with the heart. What is essential cannot be found without continuous work, strong curiosity, and sincere commitment, even in high-ranked journal. The rest is just matter of ambition and narcissism. It will soon vanish at best without slowing down science advances. Those who know Carl have all used and understand the sentence, well, you know, Carl is Carl. My friends, now, and I'm very sad to say that, but we have a terrific but essential challenge to take up all together. Never ever conjugate this sentence, Carl is Carl, at the past. We must keep on saying Carl is Carl, and like this, he will remain forever. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carl, for this very, very moving words. Yes, Carl is Carl. This is actually why we remember when we realized that we lost contact with him. So we said that the last time, yes, we said Carl is Carl, so maybe he will reappear. And this time did not happen. So now Nicolas Privé is going to say also a few words. So we have been collaborating with Nicolas, and very fruitful collaboration. And Herman Matteau, who is also with us, was also involved in that collaboration. So Nicolas.
First of all, I just want to say to his family how brilliant and how much I appreciated working with Carl. I think you know him as a special individual, but he was special to our community as well. He really touched a lot of people. I knew him as this brilliant person who was also incredibly generous and happy to entertain some of my silly ideas and treat them with respect and guide me in moving science forward. He was a pretty funny guy. He enjoyed humor, but he was also extremely private. And I don't imagine that I have a great picture of all of his life because of that privacy that he maintained. I recall many times going to seminars with him and him grasping the problem in a way that was shocking to me, given that he couldn't see any of the PowerPoint slides. But he was able to follow along and then explain things to me later about what was correct and what maybe was trivial and what was really deep. And I love those conversations with him, and I will miss them. Carl and David came and visited my lab once, maybe about 5 or 6 years ago, when we were doing experiments together. And I remember him coming and David as well coming and we did some experiments in front of them so that he could see how it was that we were acquiring data. And that was, they were surprisingly impressed with what we were doing, which seemed very commonplace to me, but very fancy to them. And it was fun to have that exchange, because I feel the same way about the work that he did. It's very complicated for me, but maybe more commonplace for him. And in fact, I think the collaboration that I've had with them, one of the special things is it has taught me how to really enjoy the collaboration in a way that you're exchanging ideas from very different perspectives, and to enjoy that interaction as a sort of meeting of the minds of different minds, and being respectful of other people's ideas, and maybe going and having a beer afterwards to chat about it. I enjoyed that immensely, and I will miss him. And I had just presented some new data a couple of weeks ago in a lab meeting there, and I was looking forward to continuing that conversation. And it's too bad that we won't have that opportunity.
Well, first of all, let me introduce Carl's mother. I'm his youngest brother. The other family is at other location right now. There are, I think most of them are viewing this Zoom meeting as well. I've seen my sister, maybe she can unmute and say hi to you all to present herself. Janet?
Yes, hello. My name is Janet and I'm the sister of Carl, and I'm very happy to be here and to, sorry. So, Wouter will talk further.
Yeah, I'll talk further. Well, as you don't know where to begin, to be honest, but I have written down some things. Well, first of all, we are very happy that we can be in this kind of meeting and see you guys talk about Carl. And we want to thank you for the opportunity to be here. And we also want to thank very, very much of people who have brought their condolences and all small words about Carl, his character and his work. It has really, it was really touching and overwhelming, all these messages. It was well, it was great to experience these messages, and it has definitely yeah, well, made things a little bit easier for us, the morning and so on. So that's a big thank you to all of you, that it has helped us. Especially the appreciation of Carl, both in his work and in his private life, as a person, which came out of these messages. It really helped us well, to make the grief more bearable, because as Nicolas, as you mentioned, he was not really about his private life, but that's also something for us. We didn't really know what the details of his working life. And with all the communication we have last week with David, with Carol, with Passada, the little movie clips Passada sent us, it was great for us to experience what Carl's life was about and what his work was about. Well, as a matter of fact, his life was about his work, we think. And it was great to see, because we didn't have this insight before. So thank you for that. Talking about what Carl has meant for you, has meant for us, it's sometimes difficult. It's not easy to talk right here for me, but all these messages, they make us really proud about who Carl has, the personality of Carl and the way he lived his life. We know that some of you are anxious to know about when the funeral will be. Well, to be honest, we are not sure ourselves. It's now 2 weeks ago that Carl passed away, but we still don't know when his repatriation will be to the Netherlands. We assume that it will be in about 2 or 3 days, and only then we can be sure about the funeral. The funeral itself will be held in the Netherlands, but it will be available online for the people if you want to see it. I will do a little part in English, but the majority of the funeral will be in Dutch. The funeral will be held online, but it will also be recorded. So if anyone cannot attend and they are very curious about it, people can see it later on. What have I just written down? What I'm not talking about? Oh yeah, I think David, as we mentioned before, I think you will post something on the website, so the people know where to find the funeral or maybe the recording. Yesterday and the day before yesterday, I've been in Paris with my mother. We have seen Carl on Monday. Much better than expected, because it was already 1.5 weeks ago. So we thought, well, what can we expect? But he was looking much better. So that was a great experience for us, especially to to make it real, because until then it was just about phone calls and people telling us Carl has passed away. It was in a way unreal. And on Monday, it really was real.
Yeah.
So that was a Monday. On this Monday, we also met Carol, with some other colleagues from Paris, which was a great experience as well. We have, well, it was for my mother as well, it was very good to do so. Yeah. We have talked about Carl a lot, as some things Carol already mentioned before. That was something we really experienced as a good thing.
Yeah.
So we had a real connection. So let me end with special thanks to you, David, Carol. Special thanks to Andrea. I think she is not within this meeting, but well, you, David, Carol, you know her. Special thanks to you, Fasada, as well, because we know Carl was very close with you the last couple of years. And let me end with what we realized, that for some of you, especially you, David, Carl has been a friend for 30 years, and you almost work day in, day out with him. And we realized that this must be for you very hard as well, and not only for his family. And we want to give you a big thank you for all you have done in all these years for Carl. And we know that this morning is for you as well a big thing. So let me just say, we want to support you with that as well.